IVM.
This is Audiogyan, and I am your host Kedar Nimkar. Welcome to a deep dive into the minds of luminaries from the Indian creative world. Today we have Sharad Chauhan with us on Audiogyan. Sharad is a partner and chief designer at GDD, which is an Indian-based design studio founded in 2015. He's an industrial designer with over 13 years of experience, having worked with Whirlpool, Samsung, and now his own venture. I think at his core, it's an industrial design, but has been making home appliances. And that's what we are going to talk about and dig further in today's session. So welcome, Sharad, to Audiogyan. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Kedar. Thank you so much for getting me onto your show. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. I've taken industrial designers ke bahut kam interviews. So I thought I wanted to just dig further how these things are made. It started off with Narendra Ghate, who works at Tata Elxsi. That was the first one. And then bunch of theoretical ones, one with Tej Chauhan. So there have been like few of them, but not very actively. So I thought I'll pick your brains as to how home appliances are made. And mainly, I understand industrial design is such a vast topic. Almost everything you touch is sort of designed.
True, actually.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to start off by, if you can just set the stage by telling us like what all is covered under home appliances when it comes to industrial design. Is it like, are there any industry definitions or are there any traditional categories? Ki baba, safety pin is not industrial design or a microwave is, right? Is there any broad bucket like those?
So in a very basic way, you have interviewed a lot of guys from the academic background. So you must have got the academic definition there, like about the whole problem solving bit, right? So I'll keep that aside. Actually, my whole approach towards the entire profession is very hands-on. So my entire responses will be sort of in that manner. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when it comes to industrial design, anything that can be made with a mass manufacturing process.
Okay.
Yeah. That comes under the banner of industrial design. Okay. So it takes all the way from a safety pin to a ship. So, then it sets the context straight, because the aim is to actually sort of get your creative expression out using the mass manufacturing methods that are there for you to work on. And one always thanks their clients to actually provide us the right canvas on which we can actually express ourselves. So in a nutshell, something that's working with mass manufacturing processes and has a major design sort of a thing. So I keep that under industrial design.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but there must be something to do with home appliances, right?
Yeah.
So any criteria which tick and then you qualify it to be a home appliance?
Yeah, something that you actually use in your everyday life. Like, you actually start from your morning. So, it can sort of start from your electric toothbrush all the way to your iron, to your geyser, to your microwave, to your washing machine. So your everyday objects, that you use at home. Yeah. So those are your home appliances, So that's how it is. And I have the major reason I've got more home appliance sort of products in my portfolio is because I've been working primarily in the Indian context. Yeah. So what happens here is that most of my clients, they are guys from a home appliance background, or like they are product owners or product managers who are working with home appliance companies, and they think that I can make a difference to their products. And that's where I come in. I have also worked on other stuff, which is sort of linked to mobile phones and, lighting and all that stuff. But I do a lot of home appliances. So understanding kitchen scenarios, how do people really function in their kitchen environments, that plays a major role.
Interesting.
But I'm more sculptural for that matter, I always draw a line that way, because at times people do ask me that, okay, what's the new thing that you've made? So I usually don't have an answer there. But most of it has been a part of my creative expression, my creative sculptural expression, and how I'm able to use manufacturing processes to sort of express that. So in a nutshell, I hope it sort of somehow answers your question,
Yeah,
because
yeah. No, in fact, I want
things
to.
get really broad. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I'm more keen when you said sculptural and sort of creative expression, because whatever I comprehend, these physical
Hmm.
products, especially which are used day in and day out,
Hmm.
it's almost like muscle memory. Like, if you don't, like in our digital UI interface, if you don't keep the search on top right, it sort of
Hmm.
disorients you, right? Or if the start, suddenly if you change where to start from, it disorients you. Where, like, I'm sure every designer wants to make things invisible, as intuitive, as natural as possible,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, yeah.
that comes with challenges of like you imparting or giving that your original touch to it, or sort of the creative expression to it.
Hmm.
So like, how do you make it invisible, especially in the home appliances or in general, right, industrial usage, but yet
Okay.
have unique experience for that,
Kedar,
if
your
that.
whole question is really heavy, okay? Because I'm a little low on my IQ at times. Like, I'm not really able to give very, very proper answers. But then, just to put things in a very simple way, see, the way a refrigerator or a mixie or a washing machine gets made, it hasn't really changed a lot. Okay. From the
Hmm.
time a washing machine was invented, there is a drum that sort of works on a motor. It spins your clothes around and you're done. Same is the case with a mixie. There is again a motor. It actually spins your phone around and you're done. And there's a microwave that actually sort of, there is this magnetron there that works a certain way. It sends out microwaves. It heats your food and you're done. Okay. So when it comes to sort of rapid innovation,
Hmm.
okay, like sort of quick innovation, like how you talked about the search icon on the right, and at times if you place it on the left. So when it comes to sort of appliances, it's not that easy, because if a company really wants to change the core working, there is a lot of platform level change. It's a lot like saying that I'll have to change how Android works, or I'll have to change how iOS works. So if you want to really change how your OS works, then you'll have to really work on your OS. Then that
Hmm.
calls for a lot of investment, right? Like you'll have to get a lot of people and get the right sort of developers to work on that and then sort of go forward. So the products I work on a lot these days, okay, because my personal practice is not too old. It's about 5, 6 years old. And even before, when I was in Whirlpool and Samsung, I somehow ended up in the home appliance team because, like for me, the major catch there was that as I finished design school, okay, I finished design school back in 2008. Yeah. 2007, I started working. So 2007, 2008, I finished my design school. Post that, I always wanted to sort of work on those objects where I can sort of express myself in terms of the form and the aesthetics. I always knew what the function is. So, as an industrial designer, as a product designer, like your function is foremost, right? You can't really argue on that or change it in some way or the other, or change it in a very weird way out of your own whim and fancies. But I've always looked for larger products. So home appliance basically has larger products. So I can actually go down and really do something to them so that they start looking differentiated. So that became my key skill set after a point, that sort of, I could make products look differentiated. Like my key brief used to be at times, I hope I'm on track. I hope I'm not
Yes,
failing.
yes. No, no,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my key brief most of the time used to be, dude, make this really nice. Okay. Because as far as the design process goes, I understand. Like, okay, too many people might say, yeah, matlab, Sharad is talking about something which is very skin level. Okay. Very like surface. He's not talking about deep design, but that's how my briefs used to come to me, that,
Hmm.
make it really sorted, make it really sort of slick. So I used to do my thing, and it sort of has worked for me in some way or the other. I see most of the industrial designers practicing that and sort of working on those lines. But yeah, that's for me. I really wanted to work on large objects which I could touch and feel, and home appliance seemed to be the right category, because seeing myself work on mobile phones, they're just a black brick, man. You can't really do much.
Hmm.
So because I have been in those projects where I have designed a feature phone, I have designed a couple of smartphones, but then there was not too much I could do there. Probably if I get a project now, I might sort of do something on it. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's the reason I sort of enjoy doing home appliances. And also because the vendor network I have here, because if I have to really prototype small sort of products, like a watch or like a phone or like a earpiece or something like that, then the kind of prototyping facilities वगैरह, they're not that good here. They are okay. Matlab, when I say they are good ones here, no doubt. Okay, there are some really good ones, but the ones near my house or like near my office, they aren't that great because I really frequent the model shops, like the workshops a lot. So I'm waiting for the time when we can get really good prototyping facilities which work on smaller products and give a awesome finish and awesome.
और आपने बताया कि this larger objects also वो interest देते हैं क्योंकि like if you take this washing machine example, right? There's a drum, but so as a layman, there's a drum, but there are like maybe countless other things around it, which puts that entire thing in one box.
Yeah.
So you
absolutely.
get those more moving parts to play around with, and that's why you're interested in larger objects, or is it some other criteria also? कि छोटे में
I actually get to play around with them on a larger scale. So there is more of plastic that I'm molding around. So, that's the fun. I mean, just to put it in a very sort of simple way, if you look at a car, right? If you look at automobile design, right? The way the car works hasn't changed a lot. Okay, now you have moved to EVs, but the standard combustion engine that sort of works, the core hasn't changed a lot. You might sort of tweak a few things here and there, and you might just get the new thing. But in the case of that, the basic shell is what puts a smile on your face, right? When you look at a product, oh, wow, nice, right? So that thing that comes in an automobile, like when you see a car, like, okay, this is so cool, so nice. So that's the smile I want to get on my user there when they see my stuff in the sort of in the shops or in a mall, that, okay, this thing is nice. What is this? I have had instances where, I have designed something, it looks really nice, it sort of works okay, but the product is not right. The motor is not functioning well. Some of the electronics are not nice. So design is dependent on a lot of stakeholders. Everyone has to do their part in the best way. So we keep learning and we keep moving forward. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So let's take this example because I'm now very fascinated with this. Say you pick up say washing machine or a microwave and help us understand like how this process works, because when you said कि नहीं यार मतलब people might be commenting कि शरद superficial, I don't think so at all. क्योंकि हाँ मतलब core से change करने के लिए तो then you are challenging Excel only. फिर तुम मतलब can Excel be design? So matter it's to change the skin also sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really sort of respect the fact that design, like good design, is sort of something which comes out of the collaboration of the right stakeholders with the right mindset, and then you have something. So that's how sort of good products really work.
Correct.
So if you
and sorry to interrupt, but and I also want to acknowledge or tell the listeners one beautiful insight which I derived just now is that so after 13-14 years of experience, at least it's a great spot to be in, that what are your core strengths and what you are lacking and where you want to head to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens that there are these designers who are probably 10 years of experience and think achieved out of Dieter Ram's level, which is so it's a good thing. That's why I want to just double click on this washing machine
true.
and if you can help us कि prototype कैसे रहता है, क्या mold होते हैं, start to end बताओ, मजा आ जाएगा
यार. ठीक है. So okay, usually I like keeping things very, very simple. ठीक है. So mota, I'll just tell you how it sort of really works. So the moment I get a product to design, if it's a washing machine, what I do is I get the washing machine to my office, I open up the entire thing. Okay. I actually call my engineering team, guys, just actually join in. So
ये सॉरी हाँ मैं छोटे इंटरप्ट करते रहूंगा. हाँ नहीं तो ये एक लेते हो कि बहुत सारे मार्केट में जो टॉप है या वो
benchmark. Yeah. Something that's benchmarked. If I talk about the whole process of making home appliances, okay, I do not want to get into that. I research, I design, then I give it off to the engineers. Okay, let's not talk about that. Okay, because that's the first thing that you get when you type on the internet. Okay. So the way I really work is that, okay, it's the same. It's not like it's not anything new. It's the same design process, but just to actually put it out there, I do, when it comes to research, I do spend about a month sort of talking to people, going into their homes, documenting it. How are people using it? Because it's a lot like saying sometimes you do a lot of research and nothing might come out. Okay. And that's okay. That's not a problem. Sometimes you do a lot of research, and even if one thing that comes out right, even if it's a very small thing, makes a lot of sense. So you are always looking for that one small thing, or like two, three small things. So most of the times when it's that one small thing that you want to sort of extract out of a research, you are able to do that. But that's the research phase. So I have my team, they help me around. We go into people's home, we talk to them, video record them, make videos of them using their sort of appliances. And then we sort of analyze that data and we pick out a few points. Okay, like your regular post-it methods. So we actually pick out something. Yeah, sure, this is what we'll do. So once when that post-it story is over and you made your presentation, that okay, this is what we have. And
yeah. And within that, sometimes these smaller nuances also help the marketing team, maybe because that's how you're positioning it. Yeah,
absolutely. Because see, my aim is that if I'm working with my stakeholders, I need to get a lot out of the marketing guys also. Yeah, because they have some serious inputs, because they are the ones who will be sort of number crunching and all those things. We don't really number crunch a lot. I mean, at least I don't really number crunch too much. So I give them the right data, which sort of they can process it there. Actually, let me know, Sharad, let's do this. Or why not we try this? Or if we do something very out of the box, it might call for a big investment. So let's go for a smaller idea like that. And let's put this idea in our product. Okay. So that is just one bit. Now, when it comes to actually designing it, okay, what do you really do? So what I do is I actually buy the product. If it's a washing machine, I actually buy one or two of them. I open them up completely. I do a complete product teardown where I look at each part, like how each part is made, how it is coming together, what are the methods in which all these parts are joined together. I build a certain understanding of it since I've been doing it since a while. So that's where the 13 years actually help. Yeah. So you have a good understanding of how something is put together. Like, for instance, if we actually talk about a human, like how you are actually put like together in a whole presentable packages that you actually put on your socks, you actually wear your shoes, you wear your jeans, you comb your hair, you sort of trim your beard and all those things, right? So it takes a package for something to be presentable. So I understand the entire sort of product once I actually tear it down, understand even.
But this also includes, I mean, in case of washing machine, there are these huge chips or whatever, like PCBs was set. So you also decode or understand them, or
okay. Yeah, I do because when I open up all these parts, so let's start from the base. There is a motor, the great motor, which runs and does everything in this world. The entire universe runs on a motor nowadays. So there is a motor which actually runs everything, and where you control it from is where your entire PCB is. So what all functions are there in the PCB? Is the PCB really useful or not? So that's the point where the UX actually comes into picture, where you actually test out the usability and see how best you can actually improve that. So I do take a look at the PCB. I do take a look at the motor. So the thing is, there was a time I was doing this teardown activity at a client's office, and I was actually asked that you are not really doing engineering, Sharad. Why have you really opened up everything? So I actually tell them that, okay, because of the mix of people I have in my office, there is an equal mix. They are like mechanical engineers and they're industrial designers. So it's an equal mix. So we need to understand everything at every level so that even if something comes up later, we always have the answer. Right? So now this works for it. So the good part about being an industrial designer is you can actually look at any product out there. Sort of whenever I start a product, if I have to make a pair of speakers, I'll actually open up a few speakers, check them out, I'll actually open it up. So that's the opening up bit, right? So once I'm done with that, I've actually understood how this works. Then I think, okay, if I have to change the configuration, if I have to put something here or there, as per my user research, I actually do that. And I sort of make basic blocks of what my ideas can be. And I actually make those blocks in my 3D software. Yeah. So once I put those blocks together, then I start sketching over them. Yeah. Then I do a lot of sketches. For that matter, if I like the entire sketching process in the studio runs for a while. So we actually get down to making ideas. We actually sketch about 50 ideas, out of which we choose 4, and we choose those 4, and then we again iterate over them, make like another 10, 20, 30, then choose 4, then sort of iterate more over them, then choose 4. So when you do it for about 2 to 3 weeks, then what happens is that your entire brain gets drained out, and you have understood the product pretty well, just on paper, on now like iPad. So once that happens, and now we have a good picture of what we really need to do, what are the core 3, 4 ideas. After that, we move on to our CAD softwares, right? So once we move on to CAD software, they are different kind of CAD softwares. Okay. There's one that a normal designer like me understands. So I use those, I create something, then I give it off to my engineers to create better surfaces out of them. Like you must have heard this term, class A surface. Like
I've heard textures and lighting in 3D Studio
okay,
Max.
no, so perfect. That is good enough. That is good
Yeah.
enough. So I give it off to my engineers to make a good surface out of it. So between that process, I sort of, after going through all this, I actually end up with about 3 to 4 good looking concepts. This is what we need to do, detailed out to a level, because obviously, if you've understood the entire platform, the entire product, you'll end up detailing it in a good way, right? So once I've done all that, then I give it off to my stakeholders. Then they choose something out of it that, okay, this thing works for us. Now, this is just like, 1/4 of the battle. Okay.
Yeah,
So
actually.
okay. So once like that is done, then I'm sort of,
Sorry to
please.
interrupt. So when you share these images, right? Matlab, the 3D software.
Renders, yes,
Yeah,
rendering.
renders. Yeah. So the stakeholders are also aware of the sections, or are they just like gauging it from a aesthetic standpoint?
They are just gauging it from an aesthetic standpoint. If there is someone in the team who has a good understanding, because usually what like happens is that there is always someone from the engineering team also there, and they would love to understand how do all the cross sections work, how is it coming together. So each of the concepts that I present, it has all that data. At the end of the good looking picture, that there's the cross section, there's the assembly, so all those things come in, where I have to sort of throw in a few words at times. So yeah, so once all that is done, now starts the magic. Now this is where I give it up to the engineering team. Okay. So now they have this weird looking object. Okay. And they have to sort of make it real. So now this is the most beautiful part of the entire process. I mean, I really enjoy this part, because this is where true problem solving comes in, because at times people say, right, I mean, is this a surface level job? No, it's not. When you are actually sort of working hard with an engineering team, right? And thankfully, the engineers I have worked with, they are a damn good bunch of guys, really skilled people. They really enjoy these problem solving sort of scenarios where we are trying to create something, it's not right, let's push this curve a bit inside, let's just put this surface here, and my aim is to keep the design intent in place, right? So it's like a back and forth. We keep checking through and through, that if it's working or not. So keep exchanging files. We have one file, they work on it, they actually give it back to me. It's a lot like, what if in the UX scenario, what if your engineers knew Figma, right? Yeah. So that's the whole catch. So in a way, me and my engineers use the same software. Yeah. And we try to detail it out, fix it. If I think that they can improve a detail here and there, they do. If I need to fix something, they actually let me know. And at the end of this beautiful process comes out something which is legit, and which can be injection molded, because after your drawings are finished, after you've done all your 3D hoo-ha, once all that jazz is done, then it goes for tooling. Right? Tooling is when you take a big piece of metal and then you run a CNC machine on it and you basically carve it out. So just to put it in a simple way, I mean, it's like how a cake is made. Like a cake is made in a mold, right?
Yeah.
Like your mom actually pours the whole batter in it and she actually takes the cake out. But she has to sort of choose that kind of a mold in which the cake comes out in a clear manner. That's all the logic you need. Like the entire cake should come out in a clear manner. Okay. So once this goes for tooling and the entire tooling operation is done and the first few shots of your products are made, this is called the T0. So that's trial 0. Then there's trial 1. So that's the first time they actually inject plastic into your product and they actually put it together and give it to you. That's where you start to take calls. Okay, can we fix this here? Can we do this there? Can we make a few tweaks? Just a few tweaks, okay, not too many. So we make those tweaks. And at this point, my team, at least that's what I do in my process. I start to work on the color material finish also. material is mostly plastic based. So it can be polycarbonate, it can be polypropylene, or any of ABS, so any of those. And we try to work around with colors. We try to work around with finishes, etching. How do we work around with like etching and actually apply the right texture on the right part? So after doing
Sorry,
all
Sharad,
that,
Sharad, sorry to interrupt again, but एक बहुत ही curious हो रहा हूँ मैं. So
हाँ बोलो बोलो
when you said tooling ना,
हाँ
so केक में कैसा है कि
बोलो
वो जो सांचा होगा
सांचा
उसमें
सांचा हाँ
हाँ उसमें
हाँ
कुछ like you'll put the batter and then it comes
बैटर हाँ
out, right?
हम्म
वैसे like how will it work? Because say washing machine is a hollow piece inside, so
हम्म
these components like a drum
हम्म
or the entire
yeah
entire case
those
are
are
different cases are different and then you put them assembled together, or I'm unable to visualize how it would work.
yeah see, so every part is molded differently,
So
okay.
that's like tooling for every piece.
Yes, tooling for
Oh.
every piece. Now the difference between the cake and like this thing is that the cake is really thick, okay. That's what gives it a nice munchy bite, okay. But if your cake is really thin, it means that the two parts are coming really close, like the parts of the sancha, like the base and the top, they are actually coming really close and keeping it really thin. That's why all the tools are sort of having a very thin wall, about 1.5 mm to 2 mm or something like that. And that's how it comes. I'm really trying to keep it very simple and not make it very tricky for you. So that's how molding works in a very sort of general nutshell. I mean,
no, but still, every piece of one washing machine
comes
out of a die, individual
yes,
pieces, and
exactly.
then they're put together,
assembled. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And the best part is, thanks to the sort of awesome CAD softwares we have these days, we are able to check all the assemblies in the 3D environment first. That's how.
And in that step only, you can also identify what all can go in automation, because there might be some pieces, right, which needs a manual intervention every time to bring that.
Every piece needs a manual intervention, yeah, because it's a lot
No,
like
no,
saying
not that at stage. I'm saying at the manufacturing stage. No.
So automation. So as you put that in, it puts a different sort of, like, it brings another discussion where I can sort of tell you a bit about my manufacturers. Like, some of them have just bought a robotic arm and they want to start using it. It's not like Tesla or some deadly factory in Europe where even from the mold there's a robotic arm coming and taking it out and taking it there in the assembly line. Yahan pe, you have guys, man. You have guys like me and you actually working on the factory line, taking it out from the molds and sort of seeing if there are any defects in it, and then sort of sending it for assembly. So automation is a little less right now. It's a little less, but we in India, we are working towards it. हम मेहनत कर रहे हैं. हम लोग थोड़े से नए हैं, but हम मेहनत तो कर ही रहे हैं धीरे-धीरे. We are trying to get there. So,
I hope
no, sorry.
I
you too much.
Not at all.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes.
So when the first trial happens and everything is assembled together, usually it looks white, like sort of yellowish white, because it doesn't have any color. So it has the basic sort of plastic color there. So it looks like that. And basis that, you start to take calls that, okay, let's sort of try these colors and sort of, share. Then we end up sharing Pantone codes, right? I mean, legendary Pantone, right? Pantone never dies. So there are other standards also. Pantone has been more of a graphic standard, but in India, we still use Pantone. In Europe and more like developed nations, they sort of go with the RAL code, RAL. So RAL is basically, I mean, if I put it Pantone ka bada bhai. Yeah, that's more accurate. Like when it comes to production processes. So here we still use Pantone, and there are gaps there because Pantone shows something that's meant for paper and print, right? And when it comes in plastic, it's a bit lighter. So there are issues there. So we are sort of trying to work with our manufacturers. We are sort of telling them, let's go to a RAL code and try to sort of do something there. So, I mean, this is my experience, okay? I mean, don't expect me to be some deadly professional who has all professional answers and a very professional interview. So just, I'm just trying to keep it very normal.
Yeah. So where does these 3D printers come in?
Oh, 3D printers everywhere, man. Wow, I'm so glad. I actually have a few in my office also, actually. So I tend to take out my own printouts and check them. A lot of form study, because if I talk about the sculptural aspect, you really need to check how every curve is behaving, how it is looking in a certain light. So even in the office, I have actually kept a certain lighting here, which sort of helps me sort of bounce it on to my sort of models that come out of my 3D printing. So 3D printing is a very awesome process. It has
Mm-hmm.
really made life easy. Yeah. And so much so that, I had got like a flat pack 3D printer from I had ordered it via Amazon, and 17K, dude, that's it. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually ordered that, I assembled it together, and it works like a dream. It works really well.
Oh,
So
nice.
things aren't that sort of expensive, because at times when people say I'll 3D print it for you, there's no extra cost. Okay, it's okay. But yeah, you do have very good advanced 3D printers also, which really give very good output. So some of my vendors around my office, they have pretty good 3D printers. So when I need a larger part, or I need something with extreme accuracy, then I give it to them for 3D print. So 3D printing, it's a big asset. That's
Mm-hmm.
one reason that my office doesn't look very messy, because I don't have a workshop inside my office. Okay, so I have to go to the workshop. So the workshop is about a kilometer away from my office. So I got to go there. So in my office, I just have sort of 3D printers. So life is a little less messy.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Interesting.
Mm.
Okay, let's take a short break here. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks to holistic health coach Chris Gibson about the various aspects of skincare routines. On The Longest Constitution, Priya deconstructs an important judgment on reservations with the Indira Sawhney case. On Ikka Dukka Economy, Abhinav and Dr. Bharat Junjunwala analyze how the dynamics of a typical government job have changed over the years. And on The Life Manifesto, Zarina teaches us how we can become better decision makers. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really do appreciate the word of mouth. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms that you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. And we are also on YouTube. On YouTube, you can check out our various channels on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you for making this possible.
Okay, welcome back to the show.
So now, suppose the 3D final, version 1.0 is ready. Now, like
Mhm.
you iterate, and then like some bit about. I know I don't want to convert this into like a
Yeah.
washing machine
No, it's
creation.
not washing
But
machine. It's
yeah,
actually
it's
applicable
actually
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So don't
yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but generally, like, what is
Mhm.
the last mile? Like, once you have locked on the final prototype, from
Mhm.
there to final manufacturing, and then going
Yeah,
it
yeah.
out
Once
to
you
users.
once you have done the final prototype, that's when you get your final payment. So yeah, that's when you get paid finally.
Hmm.
You have done your T0 and all that, and all the milestones are done. You've done something fine, so that's all good. Yeah, but once it hits the shelves, yeah, and that's once it hits the shelves, that's where I sort of use my team to I sort of ask them to go onto shop floors, or sort of, sorry, not shop floors, but to shops, and talk to vendors, or talk to shop owners, talk to users, that what do you think about this. So that's when you get the right feedback, that design is okay, design is good, but the dial is not correct, button is not pressing, hinge is not good. So,
Mhm.
it's those things that make you feel that, okay, design is not the only thing in the world. You know, there has, like, you need to work with your other team players, you need to help them get better, and you need to make sure that whatever you do, sort of works in their favor too, like, because if you make everyone's life difficult, then how will you create a good product? I understand designers are a little, okay, we don't like engineers, we don't like this, we work in a silo. No, it doesn't work. You have to work as a team, right? I think that's what sports teaches you, right? Like, I love basketball, so that sports thing has sort of come into my work as well. So yeah,
So true, so true. In fact,
I love
I was
working with engineers.
yeah, me too, me too. In fact, I'm designer second,
Mm,
but like कॉलेज वाइज तो मैंने इंजीनियरिंग ही किया है, सो आई एम नॉट लाइक अ क्वालिफाइड डिजाइनर ऑल्सो और इंजीनियर, बट या आई वॉज टॉकिंग टू दिस यूजर वन डे एंड आई टोल्ड हिम व्हाट अबाउट लाइक I work in Jupyter and it has got its own debit card. So I was saying वो आपको मैं डेबिट कार्ड दूंगा, उसके ऊपर आपको आपका नाम कैसे लिख के चाहिए. तो he was like, he got all like excited and he said fancy silver color lining में मेरा नाम दे दो, मुझे अच्छा लगेगा, कार्ड फ्लैश करते वक्त बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, I'll feel proud. And I said सर वो सिल्वर लाइनिंग के लिए तो प्लान नहीं है, बट आपको मैं 5% कैशबैक दे सकता हूँ. And he flipped. Right? He said, chalega. I don't mind the silver lining. I don't want, but that 5% cashback
is cashback now.
Yeah. Now the entire dynamic change, right? So you suddenly feel like zero empowered from a design standpoint because you have no say here. Like you can't really pull the design, pull a user through design.
I totally get it because there's this one thing actually that half the time many users don't really know what they want. Are you getting what I'm saying? Unless or until you make it and give it to him. If, for instance, if you do all the stuff that you just told about the debit card that give you silver lettering, shushan and all that, he might like it. Okay, at that time, जब उससे पूछा हमने कि आपको कैसा लगेगा, बंदे ने देखा ही नहीं है तो क्या बोलेगा यार. एक बार जब उसके हाथ में आएगा, because I think this was the thing that Steve Jobs had also said like a long time back, like during the early days of Apple, that that the consumer really doesn't know what he wants. Like, how will you test out new things with him? But he'll just say, I don't need this. Okay. But the day he gets it in his hand, nice. So I really like it. See, now that's the catch. I mean, that's where we as designers have to sort of work and not really get bogged down by users. Not everything that a person says is correct. Yeah. Like, you just because someone has a bad mood, or like there's a bunch of users who are not in the frame of mind and give me random feedback. Okay, I go with the top 70% or 70 to 75% of the average feedback. That's my number. I always work with that. Any of my discussions, any concept selection, also everything, 75% is my thing. That if it works for the 75% is good enough. You can't just take any random feedback, no? Just because it's a user. Like, okay, user is good. Okay, like I'm joining hands. You're the best person in the world, but let me do my job also. I'll make you smile, man.
True, very true.
Like a user won't really know what. Before the fancy sort of Lamborghini Urus actually came out, like did the user know that that's how a SUV can look? No, okay. But once he saw it, wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So we got a surprise. We are in the business of surprising some way,
वो एक अलग लंबा philosophical discussion है कि
भारी वाला
तुमको like do you have to see or do you have to observe? But chalo, we'll get into this thing later. But last two questions I have. One is at GDD you are sort of the chief designer and still are pretty hands-on, and we spoke about this offline as well.
Yeah.
And even like few of my colleagues, few of my people in the network say कि यार even Jonathan Ive still is hands-on at 54. I'm sure Dieter Rams also must have been hands-on till, 70, 80 years, right? So like, why do you think an industrial designer is good to be hands-on always? I mean, it actually applies to a lot of more disciplines. But like from you, I wanted to just capture that bit. Ki industrial design में आपको लगता है कि hands-on practitioner is always good?
See, I'll tell you one thing. Like, the only reason I sort of left a stable job I had was also because I actually wanted to practice more and more of design. So for me, doing that was really important. And also when it comes to being hands-on, I mean, I can't imagine myself being, not being hands-on. So I personally, I can't even think of an answer in myself, like in my head, that, okay, what if I was not hands-on? Because for me, because our entire subject doesn't have any books to learn from, so it's important for us to be hands-on so that the next generation learns better. Because if you are not hands-on with all your years of experience, what are you telling the kids in your office? how are you passing on that baton, you know, and sort of taking things there. So once, because this is what happens, right? When you're there in the studio, you have your junior team, which is there, and you see them struggling with a few things, and then you go to their machine, give them a bit of a demo, they understand, right? So that's the thing about this profession, that you got to be hands on, because only then you learn more and more, right? I mean, there's no end to it, right? I mean, as far as I know, because I stay hands on, that's how I'm able to reinvent myself in the time to come. Like, I'm always able to reinvent because when I'm hands on, I keep pushing myself further and further. I mean, because when I run my own practice, people are expecting, my clients expecting new ideas to come out of me. And being in that position where everyone expects something to come out of you, because that's where the buck stops. So if the buck stops at like Jonathan Ive, or if the buck stops at Dieter Rams, they got to know their shit, right? So,
I
so
think
I
it's
think
also
hands-on is good.
yeah, I think it's also a function of tactileness. Like, you got to touch so many surfaces to know what's premium, what's
Ah,
not, and
yeah,
which one to
yeah,
use when. And unless you don't touch
absolutely.
it, I don't think so it's possible.
Touching is important, right? Because at the end, you make physical objects. So you better touch and feel, and how everything is looking, how every like a very small example I'll tell you about putting your own sort of feel into products, or what are the other sort of finer aspects. For instance, if like I actually remember one of my colleagues, he was working on a front load washing machine. Okay. And he wanted to basically create a nice bell sound when the door shuts, rather than a cut. Are you getting what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
dhar, like
yeah.
not that sound, but he wanted to make a nice bell sound, nice little soft sound. So he worked on it. He tried to make that experience even nice.
Hmm.
You know, for instance, I have an air purifier in my office. Whenever I turn it on, there's a very bad little beep that comes out. Okay, even the beep has to be designed, because that adds to everything. Just imagine you actually start your office in the day. Like it's nice morning. There's sun coming in your studio. Everything is nice. Birds are chirping, all that jazz. When you start this purifier, it's like, "Arey yaar, you could
Hmm.
do it better." So it's all these small things, which really sort of enhance the experience.
Hmm.
you know Even if I try to sort of turn on some of the switches in my office, the way they go cut, if that movement could be made better, much more nicer, that would have really sort of pushed the point across. What if you were able to get to that level? So I think even in everyday objects, like smallest things, when you are pressing that pump of your hand sanitizer, you can do some things to that pump. Just make it feel nice in some way. I mean, I don't know. There's always a way to put your self-expression there, right? So yeah,
Beautiful.
I think
I
I just jumped the gun. Yeah, but
No,
yeah.
no, no. I'm thinking. So I generally, when I'm thinking on my own, I generally think, if I have to be like a designer in my next birth, I would be a civil
Mm,
engineer and build bridges and roads and design
mm.
tunnels and all. But now that you
Actually,
have so excited me that, yeah, it's worth exploring industrial design
it
as
is.
well.
It
It's
definitely does. Actually, if you ask me,
further in bad state.
like in my heart, or I am still a wannabe architect,
Hmm.
because mostly I'm reading up on architecture literature, architecture interviews, everything to do with architecture. I keep looking at it so closely, because industrial design, as such, there's no one to learn from much. Matlab, there are people always to learn from. I mean, I should not say that, but when I want documented kind of learning, like you
Hmm.
press and you get it, like that kind of learning, that is sort of there in architecture, because you have such good interviews, and that kind of a design process really connects well with industrial design. You know, the way architects make a building, or the way their approach is towards creating those, it really sort of connects with industrial design. So you will see a lot of architects also sort of
Hmm.
practicing, industrial design as such. So yeah,
Yeah.
in my heart, I'm a wannabe architect. But yeah.
Cool. Sharad, I would like to conclude. I mean, it's very fascinating what you're sharing, and I would like to conclude with one last question. Since you're in Delhi and the
Mm,
studio is in Delhi, Bangalore, and one
Pune.
more place, Pune, yes. But थोड़ा दिल्ली का एंगल रखते हुए थोड़ा एक पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चन था. I'm like Make in India हमारी जो गवर्नमेंट का है, तो you want to give us some insight about, because I'm sure you're dealing with certain manufacturers and
I work in India, no, so yeah.
and dealing with them, knowing their state of infrastructure, how feasible it is. Is it again one kind of optics, or is some work really happening there? Availability of raw materials, processes.
Just to put it in a simple way, it's about people getting pepped, man. That's what, like you have to get all like, pepped and full Josh types. Okay? So that's why I think that's one purpose of Make in India, that just to get all the manufacturers in the entire Josh feel, because there are like too many foreign goods coming in, and most of our moolah is going outside the country rather than staying in. So like we actually got to make our own stuff. So that's the point. But the good part is, people are pushing themselves, man. We have improved our tooling. Our color material finish is still sort of happening. In terms of our electronics are getting better. We are still not making semiconductor chips, but one day we shall make, and then I'll have more of them at my disposal. But our manufacturers are really sort of working towards creating world-class products. Okay. So if I'm saying that now, probably, 5-6 years down the line, you'll see it happening. I mean, I'm sure, because from a manufacturing standpoint, I think China was in a similar position as us about 20 years back, 25 years back. It wasn't like it just happened like one day for them, right? They got really good at it. Too many people worked diligently. They got really good at it. Then they took their prices really up. So now making in China is not very cheap also. So yeah, we are getting there. And I'm sure in our lifetime, at least mine and yours, we'll see some good stuff coming out of here. Yeah. But it takes a while seeing how we work and our approach to work. When I say our, I mean all of us, okay? The way our approach is to work, that really reflects upon how we do simple things. For instance, if there is a person it's not like saying if there is a person whose only job is to beat metal and check for holes or something like that, he should be able to do that process really well. मतलब यार जो भी करो ना अच्छे से करो, basically 100 चीजें करने की जरूरत नहीं है उसमें, ठीक है? जो करो अच्छे से करो. And if everyone gets into that kind of a mindset, where the entire factory owners also know that, acha, let's get them all together, guys, let's just do that one thing properly. Magic happens, yeah. I mean, that's what I think. I might be wrong because you have interviewed some really experienced people, talking about a lot more things, but I got like pretty straightforward, non-bookish stuff to talk about.
No. Yeah, Audiogyan is about just gathering more perspective. So there's no like, this sometimes some things appeal to someone, some may not, but I'm sort of a neutral observer
so
and
good.
absorber.
So absolutely, man. I can see it because you were really able to sort of, encourage, anyone who's coming on board, like someone like me, to really sort of speak and put our sort of thoughts forward.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Cool. I think on that positive note, where hopefully Make in India becomes reality very soon.
It is getting there. Look at the Tata Hexagon, man. Not bad. It is just that the Omega R platform was made by Land Rover. But still, man, I mean, we guys are getting there. Okay. I mean, all my clients are here, dude. So I have to sort of, make sure that, I also coach them. They also coach me. We learn from each other. And that's how it goes.
Yes. Cool. Thanks a lot, Sharad, for giving your time. And if people have to, it's gdd.com.
Design. gdd.design.
Okay, my
bad.
My
website, I'm actually reworking the website. So I think they should get there in about a month's time. That'll be better. Okay. So it's gdd.design. So we have a studio based in Pune and in Delhi. And it's run by me and my partner. My partner is Saibal Datta. He takes care of the UX wing. So I'm Sharad. I take care of the ID wing. So ours is a complete product design studio. So we work on a lot of IoT linked stuff, digital, physical, mixing it up, this, that. So it's crazy. It is so surprising when you talk to my partner about industrial design, you feel like you are talking to an industrial design. And wait till I start talking about UX, just
Awesome.
sort of joking. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
good at it. Yeah.
No, it's great. I'll put all these links in the show notes also. Once again, so thanks and all the best. Looking forward to start using some of your products which are designed in.
Yeah. Sure.
Awesome. Cool. And that's it from today's Gyan session. For show notes and more Gyan, visit audiogyan.com. If you like this podcast, please don't forget to check our other interesting podcast on IVM Network. You can listen to us on IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or any of your favorite podcasting apps. To stay tuned, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at IVM Podcast. And if you wish to connect with me, I am at Audiogyan Moments on Instagram. Until then, take care.
इन्फ्लेशन, फिस्कल डेफिसिट, जीडीपी, एमएसपी, एनपीए, इक्विटी मार्केट वगैरह वगैरह। दोस्तों, हमने सारे शब्द टीवी या अखबार में जरूर देखे होंगे या फिर सुने होंगे, पर हम में से कितने लोग हैं जो ये जानते हैं कि इन सब का सीधा प्रभाव पड़ता है हमारी सैलरी पर, हमारे इंक्रीमेंट पर और कमबख्त हमारे खर्चों पर। दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है अभिनव त्रिवेदी और मैं बात कर रहा हूँ इक्का दुक्का इकोनॉमी पॉडकास्ट से, जहाँ पे इस तरह के इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंशियल टर्म्स को मैं जोड़ूंगा सीधा आपकी जेब से। हर मंगलवार एक नया एपिसोड सुने IVM पॉडकास्ट की वेबसाइट, ऐप या फिर किसी भी अन्य पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पर।
A wise man once said, traveling, it makes you speechless, then turns you into a storyteller.
Well, listen to such travel stories and experiences exploring India on the Musafir Stories with us, Saif and Faiza.
Catch us on the IVM website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.